Have you ever wished for something so much that it felt like magic? Well, today's story is all about a wish that came true, but not without a few wild adventures. Let's dive into the classic tale of Pinocchio. Once upon a time, in a cozy little village, lived a kind but lonely old woodcarver named Geppetto. More than anything in the world, he wished for a son to call his own. One day, he found a special piece of pine wood and carved it into a wonderful puppet boy. He painted on a cheerful face, gave him a pointy hat, and named him Pinocchio. That very night, as Geppetto slept, a beautiful blue fairy floated into the workshop. She saw how much Geppetto longed for a child, and, with a wave of her sparkling wand, she touched the puppet. "Little puppet made of pine, wake," she whispered, "the gift of life is thine." Suddenly, Pinocchio blinked his painted eyes, wiggled his wooden legs, and could talk and move just like a real boy. The blue fairy told him, "Pinocchio, to become a real boy for good, you must prove yourself brave, honest and selfless." To help him on his journey, she appointed a wise little fellow, Hemeni Cricket, to be his official conscience and guide. When Geppetto woke up, he couldn't believe his eyes. His puppet had come to life. He danced around the room with joy. He loved Pinocchio so much that he sold his only warm coat just to buy books so Pinocchio could go to school and be a smart boy. But on his first day, things went a little sideways. On the path to school, Pinocchio met two sly characters, a smooth-talking fox named Honest John and his silent sidekick, Gideon the cat. They told him school was boring and that the real fun was in show business. They convinced Pinocchio to sell his new school books and buy a ticket to the Great Stromboli's puppet show. Because he could sing and dance without any strings, Pinocchio became an instant star. The crowd cheered, and the greedy Stromboli made a huge pile of money. Pinocchio was thrilled, thinking he was a big success. But after the show, Stromboli's true colors were revealed. He grabbed Pinocchio and locked him in a cold birdcage. "You're my little wooden gold mine," he laughed. Trapped and scared, Pinocchio cried. Just then, the blue fairy appeared. "Why didn't you go to school, Pinocchio?" she asked gently. Afraid of being in trouble, Pinocchio started to lie. "Oh, some big green monsters stole my books," he said. As soon as the words left his mouth, his wooden nose started to grow longer, and they tied me up. He fibbed again. Asterisk poing, asterisk, his nose grew even longer, so long that a little bird's nest landed on the end of it. Ashamed, Pinocchio finally told the truth. The blue fairy, seeing he was sorry, forgave him this once. His nose shrank back to normal, but she warned him it was his last chance. Free again, you'd think Pinocchio learned his lesson, right? Not quite. He soon ran into Honest John and Gideon again. This time, they tempted him with a trip to a magical place called Pleasure Island, where there were no rules, no school, and you could do whatever you wanted, all day long. It sounded like a dream, but it was actually a nightmare. Pleasure Island was a trap. All the lazy and naughty boys who went there were slowly turned into donkeys, destined to be sold to work in salt mines. Pinocchio started to grow long, furry donkey ears and a tail. Terrified, he and Hemeni Cricket managed to escape just in time. When he finally got home, his heart sank. Geppetto was gone. A note explained that his father had gone to sea to search for him, but had been swallowed by a monstrous whale named Monstro. Without a second thought, Pinocchio knew what he had to do. He bravely dove into the deep, dark ocean to find his father. He eventually found Monstro and let himself be swallowed too. Inside the whale's enormous belly, he found Geppetto, alive but weak, living on a little raft. They had a tearful reunion, but how could they escape? Pinocchio had a clever idea. They gathered all the wood from Geppetto's wrecked boat and built a huge bonfire. The thick smoke filled the whale's belly, making him uncomfortable. It tickled his nose until, la choo. Monstro let out a gigantic sneeze that shot their raft right out of his mouth and into the stormy sea. The whale was furious and chased after them. The waves crashed around them. Seeing his father was in danger, Pinocchio used all his strength to push Geppetto's raft towards a safe cave in the rocks. But in doing so, a massive wave crashed down on Pinocchio, and everything went dark. When he woke up, he was lying in his own warm bed at home. He looked down at his hands. They weren't woody anymore. They were soft and pink. He wiggled his toes. They were real toes. He was a real boy. The blue fairy had seen his selfless and brave act to save his father. He had finally proven himself worthy. Geppetto and Pinocchio hugged, their hearts full of joy. From that day on, Pinocchio was a good, honest, and loving son, and they lived happily ever after. The story of Pinocchio teaches us that honesty is always the best policy, and that being brave and caring for the people we love is the most important adventure of all. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing stories.